And if it happens again, just kidding. Okay, to answer this one, this third question says, how do the animals deal with the dangers and the challenges? So, how do the animals deal with not much food being around? How do the animals deal with it snowing on their heads? How do the animals deal with being chased by polar bears? What does the animal population do? You write down as many of those as you can. Yes, sir?
Well, they can adapt. Because...
It says in the question, how are animals adapted?
Oh.
If you say the animals adapt, and by the way, that's not uncommon. In my last class, that's what everyone wanted to say. They wanted to say, well, the animals were adapted for it, or the animals were used to it, or the animals didn't think about it anymore because it happened so much to the animals. The question doesn't say, do the animals adapt? The question says, how do they adapt? So you've got to use what Aaron's thinking, and then tell me how they do it. What's their strategy? What's their tool? What's their way of dealing with these dangers? I know that they do deal with them. You tell me how. Then in the last one, it says, how can you use these adaptations to create a product? Basically, how can you copy the animals? How can you copy the animals? And that's your invention. If you do a good job with this one, that one, and this one, all you have to do is copy a critter. If you copy a critter here, that's your invention. That's it. Brenna.
Can you copy like a plant too?
Yes, it can be plant or animal. We think about animals more quickly, I think, because they're just more animated. They move more. But plants are just as valid. And it might give you more interesting results. But yes, you can. Yes, sir.
When you read about that, can we pick like an animal and do more than one, or can we only choose one from that animal? Or can we like choose a whole bunch and decide which one's better?
On these three questions, you should have a lot of stuff. When it comes to actually copying the animal, you are only required to copy one adaptation, but it could be that you copy a few. It could be, several that you want to do, and that would be fine.
Like string of it. Like if you choose an ant, you can do string, smell. What else do ants have that's good?
The pictures.
I don't know. You could, but you probably shouldn't try to copy too much because then you just invented an ant. And ants have already been invented. So you try to, because you're developing some product that you can use. By the way, if you invent some bodysuit that turns you into an ant or some bodysuit that turns you into a cougar, that just means you're trying to turn you into that animal. And that's not an invention. That's just you saying, magic wand, you are now a cougar. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an actual invention that you could use in this environment. What other questions have you got? Yes, ma'am.
Could it be like a smell? Like a body mist? Like that?
As long as it was helpful to a traveler in that environment, that would fit the rubric, and I'm okay with it. Now, don't forget, we do have a rubric. This is the rubric.
Oh no!
This sheet is the very first requirement. Number 1 says, the written traveler brainstorm sheet, is it neat? Is it complete? Now, neat doesn't have to do with eraser marks. I'm not worried about erasers, or you drew a line through something and rewrote it, or wrote it on the back. That's not what I'm talking about. I need to be able to read it. Shelby, sit up. I'm talking about my ability to read your letters. So as long as it's legible, it's neat enough. Is it complete? Well, that's a different answer for different groups. A jungle where there's hundreds of thousands of species, hundreds of thousands of plants and animals and insects, you're probably going to have a lot more content up here than in the Arctic, where you can look for 50 miles and only see one polar bear. So your answers will be different. I'm just going to look and say, did you give me enough to get your job done? So don't look at some other group and say, well, we did as much as they did. We're done. It doesn't work like that. You've got to have enough that your group can actually have good ideas by copying the animals that are responding to the dangers and challenges. This sheet goes in order. Yes?
On the invention, can we create a robot that can help us around the world?
If you had ended up at that, I would be okay. But you can't do that right now because you've chosen an invention and you haven't done this. Now, if you choose that invention, you're going to have to take that invention and try to fit all of your answers so that they fit robot. You don't want to do that. You want to go through, find your challenges, your dangers, how do the animals deal with it, and then how do you copy the animals. Then if you happen to end up at robot, great. But you can't can't choose robot first and then go back and fill this in to hit robot. So, you could have, but no. What other questions have you got? Yes, sir. Now the pressure's on because the video's looking at you. What's your question? Keith, stop laughing at Aaron. All right, get back over here again.
What?
I was talking to the Keith of the future. Okay. Are there any other questions before I let you work? Yes, Elena.
Whenever we're working, like after we finish that, are we like start studying our animal? Like if we pick one, can we just start studying it?
You're not going to pick an animal up front. You're going to fill in your environment, what challenges and dangers are there, and then you're going to decide how do the animals in that environment deal with that danger. That's the animal you want to use. So if you have an animal, or if you find an animal, wipe it away, get rid of it, and fill out this first part. Those of you who have been saying, okay, what animals are in my environment? What animals are in my ecosystem? You're doing it backwards. You don't want the animals. You want the challenges and dangers. Then you can figure out how the animals deal with all that trouble. That's what you need to do. Also, if you are searching for how different animals act or behave in your environment, you can search your environment and the word wildlife, or your environment and the word animals. So if it was Arctic, you could say Arctic wildlife. You could say Arctic animals. But you could also use all those synonyms that we had, like South Pole animals, South Pole wildlife, North Pole animals, North Pole wildlife. And that would give you lots of different places to search. But don't do animals first. Do your challenges and dangers, then how do the animals that are there respond to that. If you need to use your own device, and this is a good day for using your own device, make sure that it's productive, make sure that it's actually helping your group move forward. And to get on the wireless, the name of this wireless is EMS, because we're in Eagle Mountain, Saginaw. It's EMS BYOD, for bring your own device. So if you find that wireless, you can click on it, and then when it pops up and says, hey, you need to sign in, just use your regular login that you would use in the computer lab. If you are on an Apple product, like an iPhone or an iPod or something like that, if it doesn't automatically pop up when you go on Safari, you can go into your settings, click Wi-Fi, and when it gives you your choices, select that one that says EMS BYOD, for Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, bring your own device. And then you can just log in like normal. Yes?
I have a device that can go on Google and stuff, and I left it in the room. Should I go get it, or should I just...
You can quietly go get your devices as soon as we are ready to start our work.
Gotcha.
Any other questions before we begin? I will be walking around filling in the rubrics, so I'll be writing your whole group's, everybody's names on the sheet, and I'm going to start keeping track of your grade, your effort, your motivation, your movement, and making sure that you get the points that you earn. I don't want to miss anybody. I do want you to sit with your group at a tabletop if possible. If you need more room, you can work on the floor, but make sure you stay working. And you can get up and get started.
Hello.